I was kind of humiliated and embarrassed.
I felt like it was a racial thing, and I felt like he was singled out.
Only on 9, claims of racial discrimination at a Chick-Fil-A. A Clover police officer said that he had to pay for his meal, but that his 3 white colleagues did not.
Their claims did garner an apology from the owner of the Augusta restaurant where this happened. Our South Carolina reporter Tina Terry spoke to officers about their experience.
I was kind of humiliated and embarrassed, at the whole situation, because it seemed like it was a racial issue to me.
Clover Police Sergeant Tracey Reid had that experience at a Chick-Fil-A restaurant in Augusta, Georgia, while on a work trip a few weeks ago. He and 3 other CPD officers, all of them white, went into the restaurant for breakfast.
We all came into the restaurant together. We rode together, came in the restaurant together, all had the same uniform on, stood in line together. There was never a time that we were not together while standing in line.
They say all 3 white officers were offered a complimentary meal, which they say is often offered to law enforcement at the popular restaurant chain. But when Sergeant Reid got to the register, he had to pay.
He said he had to pay for his meal, and it infuriated me. And I told him, I said, "Do you want me to go say something?" And he was like, "No, I don't want you to cause a scene." But I could tell by the way he looked that, he just looked down at his plate and he looked really embarrassed and humiliated, which really made me mad.
Eventually, Reid wrote this letter to Chick-fil-A corporate demanding the chain retrain employees at the Augusta location and strengthen corporate-wide policies on compliance with civil rights laws. But Reid and the other officers were not satisfied with the response from the Augusta store manager, which included 2 cards for free meals.
They said that it was perceived that we were embarrassed or that it was a racial incident, which I didn't like, because I know it wasn't perceived. It actually happened.
He's not the only one to perceive it. We all perceived it that way, and it's not even perception, it's what happened. It was a racial issue.
Now, that letter from the store manager included an apology, and it also stated that the person who processed the meal was a team leader who doesn't normally work behind the register. The manager called this incident a mistake. Reporting from Clover, Tina Terry, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Let me see if I got this right. These 4 officers came from Clover, South Carolina, traveled to Augusta, Georgia, stopped at Chick-fil-A for breakfast on their way to Cordele, Georgia to pick up vehicles. So apparently the first 3 officers who were white, they placed their orders, did not have to pay. When Sergeant Tracey Reid placed his order, he was charged. This seemed to cause an issue because Tracey Reid paid for his order, sat down with the officers who did not pay for their order because they were under the expectation that they deserved something free. Tracey Reid then goes and writes a letter to Chick-fil-A Augusta, pointing this out and expressing his emotions. He was offered 2 meal cards, and he accepted. I didn't see that he returned it, but he decided to take this to the media. And now it's this whole backlash about it. I'm seeing comments from citizens and I'm seeing mixed comments, but I wanted to offer my commentary as a former police officer and talk to you about accepting these gratuities or expecting these discounts and how bad and how shameful that looks on your department. Let's talk about this. When I first started on the police department in the academy, 6.5 months, we ate our lunch every day in the academy. We could not wear uniforms outside of the building. But then once we got to field training, shout out to my first field training officer, his statement to me and his instruction to me, yeah, we can go in places and these kind people that we serve will offer us discounts and will offer us, free meals and things like that. But he said his question to the employee was, do you get offered a free meal? And most of the time their question is no. Do you get your order for free? No. So why should I do that, receive that, and I don't work here? And that made so much sense. But our policy on the department was you do not solicit a free meal or anything like that. There will be times where you're offered, something for free or things like that, but we have to refuse that. And the one thing that my FTO had told me and showed me was when we did get a chance to sit down for a meal and dine somewhere, when the check came and we were offered a discount or something like that, we gave that discount because we didn't want to make a scene. No, you changed my ticket, you changed my check. Whatever discount we were given, you add that to the tip that you were going to leave for the staff. You always make a place better, than how you found it. I put that into practice once I got into independent patrol, and I would go to 7-Eleven when I worked overnight. And when it was cold, that first thing in the morning, businesses are busy. So when I would go into a 7-Eleven, I knew that the cashier would not charge me for my hot chocolate, but I always had my credit card in my hand. And so to get out of that, what I would do was when I would see someone who's getting in line who pretty much has the same order as me, or if they're not purchasing gas or cigarettes, tobacco, I didn't do that. But if I was in line with someone or they was behind me and I would get up to the register and the cashier is like, no, I'm not paying, I'm paying for his. Or if they're in front of me and I see they have a coffee and a newspaper, I would get right up there. I'm like, oh, I'm paying for him. And the citizen will say, thank you, because it's coming as a surprise. And the citizens are already paying our salary. The citizens are already paying for the fuel in your citizen paid for vehicle. So why are you soliciting additional things? Now, talking about this Clover, South Carolina incident with Tracey Reid and the other officers, they should have just charged this to the game. They should have charged this to the game, because check it. You're on a work trip out of state. So aren't you already getting paid? Aren't you already getting per diem? So your meal should have been paid for. So did you just snitch on your other co-workers that they pocketed their per diem for meals since they're going out of town? So isn't that fraud? I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know what their policy states, but if they're on a work-related trip, everything is paid for. So I don't understand what this problem was. I had to listen to this a few times and read multiple articles to get the full story. I did not see where the officers posted what they ordered, because it could have been the first 3 officers just simply got a meal where it was a coffee, a sandwich, and a side. I'm not saying that this is what happened. I'm making an assumption. It's very possible that Tracey Reid ordered multiple things. There was a large order and he had to pay. I didn't see their receipts posted. Also, what was revealed in between stories was that there was 3 different cashiers.
Sergeant Tracey Reid says he and his fellow officers were on their way to Cordell, Georgia to pick up several police vehicles when they stopped in Augusta to eat. He tells me the other officers had their orders taken by the cashier who was training someone. When it was his turn, someone else stepped in.
When I came up, the team leader came to the register. When he came to the register, he took my order and I paid. I had to pay for my food. He told me, the meal, and I didn't say anything about is my food free or why I didn't get mine free, because we cannot ask for gratuities.
Now, when Tracey Reid gets to the counter, it's another person who stepped in to ring up his order. But the thing that is most important about these discounts or these comp meals, just like officers have discretion, these business owners have discretion, okay? You're not supposed to set this standard as, oh, you give me this, because it's going to be a tit for tat, okay? So you do this for me, I'm going to do this for you. No, you patrol and serve the citizens, as a whole. Not we're going to give favor to these because they give us a free meal or give favor to these. This brings to mind another instance of gratuities and things like that. In patrol, I did something for a citizen, and it was around Christmas time, and she turned around and handed me, she was like, no, you're going to take this. She was handing me a gift card to a restaurant. And I'm like, I cannot accept it. Can you please just give it to somebody else? I thank you so much. Yeah, I think it was Christmas, and it was something I had to do, or they called us out, and she was like, you're actually working on Christmas, and we just got into a conversation. Do you have children? I'm like, yeah, I have a son, and here, you take this. Thank you for what you're doing. And I was like, okay, it's my job. I chose to work this day. But she would not let me refuse that card. And I didn't want to embarrass her or seem ungrateful and make her Christmas bad. So what I did was I took that gift card, I went to the precinct and handed it to my sergeant. So it was his problem, because I was not going to get into a situation where, had this been a citizen testing, or some kind of test, I did not want to get in trouble for that. So that $20 or $10 gift card was not worth my job. It was not. There are times where we would go to restaurants and they would not charge us. I always kept my credit card in my hand. I was prepared to pay. I never wanted it to be a situation where I went in and assumed, oh, I'm in uniform, you're going to give me it free, and they ring you up and your card is in the car or you ain't got no money, because that looks bad. But I always had my credit card. And on those times where the cashier would not ring me up, I always had it in my mind that I would buy something. Let's say, for instance, it was Wendy's. We went to Wendy's. Wendy's always had that little coupon book around Halloween and Christmas. So if they chose to not ring me up, I would buy one of those. And whenever I encounter children in my beat or in my district, I had those coupons to give out, because, you are there to serve your community. You're there to make your community better. And I have no words for public information, the face of the Clover Police Department, Sergeant Tracey Reid, doing this.
When I came back to the table, the rest of the sergeants were very disturbed, as I was disturbed. I was almost in a rage.
Damn it, you burger punk! You son of a bitch!
If anything, how this situation should have gone was the 3 officers in front of you who did not use their per diem to pay for their meal. If y'all was on this whole thing and you had to pay, each of these officers should have gave you a couple of dollars since you paid, and y'all should have squashed it and left it right there. I don't know what gave y'all the audacity thinking that you can go claim this as a racial event and get your 15 minutes of fame this way, because this totally isn't right. I just wanted to give you my 2 cents on that, since I said in my last video we were going to talk about tipping and gratuity and all that, but no one owes you anything. No one owes you anything. If you want any kind of bonus, you get one at the end of the year when you get your appraisal, and the taxpayers give you a bonus or a tip for your hard work. No one owes you anything. This whole tipping culture and expecting people to just give you stuff, that's totally wrong. And especially when you're a public servant, you're in the public eye, but you're also the public information officer. Chick-fil-A wanting to keep that relationship going, and although you tried to put them in a bad light, they offered you the free meal, they acknowledge your grievances, but you still took it a step further. Why? And from my personal opinion and my personal experience, every time I go to Chick-fil-A, I'm greeted with the excellence in customer service. I have a toddler. I also have, I have 2 children. So I'm very familiar with Chick-fil-A, and that's one of the safest places that I like to stop and get food when I'm doing a road trip. I know in the area it'll be clean bathrooms, great customer service, decent food at a decent price, and that's pretty much it. But this time around, I'm going to have to side with Chick-fil-A. Shame on you, Sergeant Reid, Clover Police Department. This made y'all look bad. So you're going to have to hold this L. I'll see you on the next video.